Hello, this is Dave Lee Travis, and welcome to the Top 10 Auto Show. This week, as ever, we're taking a look at the top cars in their class on sale during the whole of 2001, as voted for by our expert panel made up of the editors of the top UK motoring magazines. This week, we take a look at the top 10 family cars of 2001. These are the wagons of suburbia. If you've got 2.4 children, then this is the type of car created for you. And don't feel left out if you're part of a larger family. If last week's look at the top 10 MPVs didn't offer any suitable suggestions, then take a look at these offerings. OK, we weren't exactly singing the Vectra's praises as an exciting car in the top 10 mid-sized estates episode, but we make no apologies. It isn't exciting. It's not meant to be. It's sensible, cost-effective, prudent. And if parenthood has made you more conscious of the world we're leaving behind for our children, then you can sit comfortably behind the wheel in the knowledge that the Vectra's dual-fuel engine is being kind to the environment.
Being a hybrid doesn't mean it has two different types of engine, so there's no electric motors on the wheels type trickery going on. What it does mean is it has two different types of fuel. It can switch between petrol, nasty planet-wrecking, badger-killing evil stuff, and LPG, which is far better and more efficient burning and better for the environment, and a lot cheaper to run. Now, I'd love to be able to say either that, it goes all soggy and nasty, it's rather like driving a dead camel, or that all of a sudden it's sparking, exciting, and LPG makes all the difference. But that's just the point. It doesn't make any difference to drive, it feels exactly the same. It's a Vectra, and it'll still be a Vectra in 100,000 miles time. It makes no difference to the drive, certainly not that you or I would notice. If all of this has got you tempted to do your bit to save the planet, and let's be honest, save more than a few quid, fine, by all means go ahead, but you will need to sit down and do your calculations. You don't need to do the kind of interstellar mega mileages that you used to have to do to justify an old-fashioned diesel just to save a few pence. It's not that big a difference, but you will need to do a few miles before you save enough money to justify the extra expense in buying a car that can take LPG.
Persuaded? Good. But remember that the residual value for the Vectra can stoop as low as 22% of the original price. But if it's your company car, who cares? At number 9, the first of 3 French cars in this week's top 10, the Citroen C5. Yes, this is a 4-wheel car. Let's try to not get it mixed up with Sir Clive Sinclair's 3-wheeled 80s electric disaster trike of the same name. On the outside, the C5's pretty bland. Actually, that's a little unkind, it's just uninspired really. You get the impression that the body design was not at the top of the list of priorities. But when it comes to pure technology, the C5 comes into its own. It has a list of space-age high-tech specifications as long as your arm, the most impressive of which is the voice-activated onboard computer, which actually works fine.
Once you get inside, there's nothing too offensive. It's all very well laid out, but Citroen went on for hours about how this curve was the driver curve, and this curve was the passenger curve, and this curve is the shared console. All very French, really. However, the dashboard does house Citroen's usual array of electronic gadgetry. This includes air conditioning, CD player, and further up here in this console, you've got optional satellite navigation and also a handy little parking monitor which will beep at you if you get too near to a wall behind. Another good safety device is there's a monitor on here which lets you know if your tyre pressure is getting too low. It's replacing the old Citroen Xantia and it's going to take on the likes of Mondeo, Passat and Laguna head on in the fleet market. But you know, it isn't inconceivable that someone might want to buy this car who isn't a sales rep, someone who doesn't want to hang the suit jacket in the back and be worried about company car tax. So instead of comparing it to all of the other fleet market contenders, why don't we take it on its own merits and see what we think of it that way?
The C5 is equally happy clocking up the miles on both the motorway and the country roads. The only thing that Citroen can't guarantee is whether the kids will behave on those long journeys or not. Number 9 in our top 10, the Citroen C5. In at number 8 is the first of the Japanese contenders in this week's category, the Nissan Primera. This offering from the Japanese was actually designed, developed and built in Europe, especially for the European market. The all-new model, building as we speak in Sunderland, is really astonishing, and we hope to see that higher in next year's charts.
If you think this looks like a bit of a new departure for Nissan, you'd be entirely correct. It is. They say, and I quote, that it signposts the way for Nissan cars in the future, and that it is the cornerstone of Nissan in Europe. Oh, come, just leave it out with the clever shots, will you? I mean, there's no point. Thank you. Of course, this rear view camera is going to be dead handy for seeing where you're going when you're reversing, or who's just piled into the back of you. Inside, it bristles with more gizmos than a teenager's bedroom. It just smells a lot better. For instance, if you want to use your mobile phone in the car, you don't have to take your SIM card out and put it in the car phone. You simply do this, put your phone in this cradle, and it works with the car systems. It's charged, it functions, it's nice and easy. That is, of course, as long as your phone is made by the same manufacturer. Everything else you want to use pretty much is controlled from here, the command center. It's been cleverly designed to be as simple to use as possible. And I think I can understand it. It's broken down into 3 areas. On the right, we have our climate control, which is controlled very simply. In the centre, we have everything for our sat-nav, DVD by the way, and on the left, all our audio controls. But it doesn't end there. Technology just goes on and on here. We've got all the usual stuff like ABS and traction control, but this has got something else. The cruise control. Once you've set it, it doesn't just hold you at that speed. It monitors what's going on in front with an infrared camera actually at the front of the car. And if you're getting too close to the car in front, it'll slow you down. And if the car in front really slows down, it won't just use engine braking, it'll start to apply the brakes. And it works.
The Nissan Primera, number 8 in our top 10 family cars on sale in 2001. At number 7 in our top 10 is the Toyota Avensis. The Avensis has an excellent ride and great handling, as long as you're on the motorway. It won't complain as it eats up the miles, but as soon as you turn onto other surfaces, you'll gladly sacrifice some of its motorway comfort as you lurch round corners. Space up front is good, but the sloping roof means headroom is limited in the rear. However, you will find class-leading legroom back there. The large boot is practically shaped and further improved upon by the split folding rear seats. The Avensis lives up to Toyota's reputation for reliability. You get the feeling that this car was built to last. Safety and security are high on the list of priorities for the Avensis, with driver, passenger and side airbags as standard, as well as deadlocks and remote central locking. The Toyota Avensis, number 7 in our chart this week. At number 6 is yet another Japanese offering, the Honda Accord. The Honda Accord is not best known for its performance. It's not that they don't have powerful engines, it's just that they need to be revved quite high to get any kind of response from them. Motorway cruising is what the Accord is tuned for, but as with most things, there is the exception to the rule. In this case, it's the very well-received and powerful Type R. Boy, is that fast! The Accord boasts a decent range of equipment, even in the base models. Air conditioning, remote central locking and electric windows come as standard, with climate control, leather upholstery and alloys introduced for SE models and above. As with any car carrying your family, you want to know it's safe, and with a 4-star Euro NCAP rating awarded to the Accord, you'll rest easy. Ladies and gentlemen, at number 6, the Honda Accord. In at number 5 is the second contender from our Gallic friends across the channel, the Peugeot 406. If you and your family regularly find yourselves travelling the length and breadth of the country, visiting relatives, going on holiday, then the 406 could be the car for you. Peugeot's strength has always been its ride and handling, and combined with the standard cruise control, motorway miles will fly by effortlessly. The seats are extremely comfortable thanks to their fine adjustments, and the recently updated airy cabin gives you and the kids a pleasant environment to help you feel relaxed and comfortable on those long journeys. If badge snobbery isn't high on your list of priorities, then you'll find your money will buy a top-spec 406 for the same price as a standard Audi, Merc or BMW. Running costs are also kind to your pocket, but do watch out when you come to sell on your 406. Its growing popularity as a fleet car means they are losing their residual values fast. Join us after the break as we continue our countdown towards the number one family car of 2001. See you soon. Welcome back. I'm Dave Lee Travis, and this is the top 10 family cars of 2001. We continue now with our countdown towards the number one family car. At number 4 is a model from the UK. Yes, the UK. It is, of course, the Rover 75. Rover have had it tough in recent years, but now that BMW have finally washed their hands of this traditionally great UK car manufacturer, hopefully it'll build success under its British ownership. So there's one reason to buy the Rover 75. Do your bit for the British motor industry, but I suspect it will take more than just a sense of patriotism to persuade the average car buyer to part with their hard-earned cash. The feel of the car is much more solid, and it's far better screwed together than the Rovers of old, so don't let the badge put you off. The 75 hails back to its old BMW roots, but the interior still has an old English charm about it. The styling inside and out has a pleasant retro feel to it, which, bizarrely, is now the hot fashion in the Detroit styling houses. The Brits leading the Americans? Wow!
Rover have done a great job in here. Don't think that the flimsy, slightly tacky interiors of the smaller Rovers have been emulated. This cabin is worthy of a Jag. Very stylish, very well put together and very well equipped, if a little oldie-worldy.
Now personally I prefer the interior of the MG ZT. Same layout but no fake wood, no cream dials, it's all aluminium and graphite. Or maybe it's just that I'm too young and trendy to appreciate fake walnuts.
At number 4, please give a big hand for the Rover 75. And so into the top 3 family cars of 2001. Any guesses as to what car is occupying the top slot? At number 3, as voted by our expert panel, is the Renault Laguna. While the old Laguna didn't suffer from many reliability problems, the new model does seem to have a higher standard of engineering, generally feeling more solid. Inside, the Laguna is not as roomy as some of the bigger family cars, and if you're tall, you might find it lacks headroom. Despite this, it's certainly not cramped, and there's plenty of legroom and shoulder space.
It's becoming a bit of a cliche to say that the French are no good at building large cars. And it's not entirely fair. It's probably more accurate to say that we're just not very good at buying large French cars. And I think part of that is because the attributes that the French have traditionally given their smaller cars, like practicality, durability, kind of utilitarian features, just don't translate into big cars. In big cars, generally, we want to feel cosseted. We want to feel we're in a luxurious and, best of all, expensive machine. And previously they just haven't cut it. The Laguna then, when it first came out, was extremely important for Renault because it kind of started to turn that round, which makes this, the new Laguna, very important for Renault.
Now once you're inside the Laguna, the technology continues. You've got quite a clever, almost head-up display, which actually monitors the tyre pressures. There's a synthesised voice that lets you know if the tyres are going down or if you've got a door open, and there's driver-passenger airbags and an electric sunroof. Now satellite navigation and electronic stability controls are available as an option, but everything else I've mentioned does come as standard. And the materials that Renault have used in this new car, well, they feel very, very good, very high quality, and it's quite a nice place to spend time. And remember that keyless ignition? Put it in the slot, press the button, couldn't be easier.
The Laguna has also received a 5-star rating from Euro NCAP. Very important in the car transporting your family around. And so, on to our number 2 in our top 10 family cars of 2001. Just pipped to the top spot, it's the Volkswagen Passat. Built on the same foundations as the Audi A4, the Passat is proving to be on a par with the car from which it's been cloned. Inside, the standard leather interior gives this Volkswagen a real feel of quality. Add to this the other standard equipment, including airbags from all angles, powered steering and electric virtually everything, and you're starting to see why the Passat is at the top end of our top 10.
Now in the Passat, the fit and finish is first class and the driving position excellent. We've got electric windows, central locking and climate control as standard, and a must for any long distance driver, ceiling mounted sunglass holder. Now there's enough space in here to sit 5 people comfortably, with room left over in the boot for anything you might want to put in there. It's never going to have you on the edge of your seat, although it will have you cosseted in comfort.
In a straight line, the Passat is a very refined car to travel in. It's really solid and it's got a good punch of power through the mid-range. But, very much like the Golf, when you get to the corners, it really is quite wallowy. And I feel that this lets down the ride really quite drastically.
Engines. Well, you've got a choice of 8 in total, of which 3 are new. There are 4 diesel and 3 petrol. The new ones are 2 1.9 litre TDI diesel engines, one with 101 and one with 130 brake horsepower, and a 170 brake horsepower V5 petrol engine. Lovely. This is the 1.9 litre with 130 brake horsepower, by the way, one of the turbo diesel injection engines. Very nice it is too. Lows and mid-range, all the punch you'd expect from a good modern diesel. That allied to plenty of power and not bad economy either.
Of course, the main difference between the Passat and the A4 is that the A4 is an Audi. But the £3,000 price difference could be just enough to persuade some to forget about badge snobbery. So, before we find which car has made it to the top of our charts, let's run down the top 10 family cars of 2001 from 10 to 2. In at number 10 is sensible but boring Vauxhall Vectra. At number 9, no Clive Sinclair jokes, it's the C5 from Citroen. At number 8 is the current model Nissan Primera. In at number 7 is the worthy Toyota Avensis. At number 6 we have the excellent Honda Accord. At number 5, Peugeot's 406. In at number 4 is the great British Rover 75. At number 3, another from France, it's the Renault Laguna. And at number 2, near but yet so far, the A4 clone, the Volkswagen Passat. And so, on to our number 1 family car of 2001 as voted for by our expert panel. At number 1, from Ford, it is of course the Mondeo. The best testament to just how good the Ford Mondeo is how many times other cars in its class are compared to it. Look at any review of any family car and there's always some comparison stating how the said car isn't as good as the Mondeo on whatever front. One of the secrets to the Mondeo's success is that much of the design, testing and feedback came from Formula One veteran Jackie Stewart, and the results are obvious when you get behind the wheel.
Ford say this is their first virtual reality car. It's a car that was designed and built without ever leaving the engineers' computer screens. And Ford say that saved them a fantastic amount of time and money in technical drawings and modelling of the new car. If you were cynical, you'd say, well, they didn't have to do that much work because they've simply copied Volkswagen's Passat. The resemblance really is uncanny. Ford are prepared to say that they used the Passat as a benchmark when they were planning the replacement for Mondeo, which after all was launched in 1993 and is one of Britain's best-selling cars. But benchmarking and cloning are two different things. Make no mistake, this sets new standards for Ford in the marketplace. In the first place, you're sitting higher, there's more hip, leg and shoulder room for driver and passenger, excellent legroom in the back for rear seat passengers, and as you'd expect from the curved roof, excellent headroom, both front and rear.
You'll be quite happy to transport your family around in a Ford Mondeo. Safety is excellent with 6 airbags, anti-whiplash headrests and anti-lock brakes are standard. And with the anti-theft device as standard too, you can bet that the new Mondeo will continue the impressive safety record of its predecessor.
Well, you have to say they've done an absolutely brilliant job. Mind you, the old Mondeo was no slouch. I remember the launch in Scotland at Gleneagles with Jackie Stewart hurtling us around the Highland roads with 2 of us gibbering quietly with fright in the back. But they've done a huge giant stride forward from that car with this one. And when you think, I mean, this is the epitome of a middle-of-the-road family saloon. From Ford, it's what the Cortina and the Sierra were a few years ago. And it feels more like a BMW or an Audi to drive. In short, one of the best-selling cars in Britain suddenly got a whole lot better. In comparison to Passat, well, the new Passat is very much a facelift on the existing car. This Mondeo is a huge leap forward.
So, congratulations to Ford for their outstanding Mondeo. Join us next week as we take a look at the top 10 image cars of 2001. This is Dave Lee Travis saying, see you next week. Take it easy.